Hey, what's up everyone? Chris here from Brick Players Union, and in this video I'm going to share with you some changes that I made to my LEGO MOC 8Y General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. So let's check it out. Now, every once in a while I like to go back and revisit some of my previous builds, especially the older ones, to see if there's anything that I can do to improve them. Mostly because as LEGO builders, I think it's safe to say that the more we build, the better we get. Whether it's learning new building techniques, LEGO introducing new parts, or just looking at things with fresh eyes, you'd be surprised how much you can take an older build and make it better. So with that being the case, I decided to take a look at one of my more popular builds from a few years ago, my 8Y General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. And even though I made the original video for the General Lee over 3 years ago, I actually built it a few years before that, so I think it was long overdue for an update. Now, if I'd only made a few changes to the build, I probably wouldn't have made a new video for it, but once I got started, I realized that there were a lot of things I thought I could improve, and when it was all said and done, I ended up changing over a dozen elements to this build, and I think it made a big difference in the outcome, so in the end, I decided to make this video after all because I was really excited to show you the changes and hopefully get some feedback from you as well. So, starting with the specs of the MOC, it has a main body that is 8 studs wide, which is the same as the original. It has an overall length of 23 studs, which is 1 stud longer than the original. And it has a height of 5 1/3 bricks, which is the same as the original. As for the changes, as you can see, I totally rebuilt the front end. And I didn't just rebuild it once, I rebuilt it twice. Now, the first time I rebuilt it, I was pretty happy with the way it turned out, so I filmed the stop motion intro, but then the more I looked at it, I realized I wasn't totally satisfied with it after all. In particular, I didn't like how the 1x1 orange tile above the front bumper wasn't totally flush, and I also didn't like the blockiness of the lower valance. So I decided to put the video on hold to see if I can improve those details, and on the second rebuild, I managed to fix both issues. I also changed the black wall elements to medium gray plates built studs on side to make a more accurate headlight/grill bezel. And while I was at it, I added some black 1x2 grill tiles for headlight covers and this medium gray 1x1 roof tile to recreate the split in the center of the grill. I built the front bumper with a medium gray 1x8 plate with a slide mounted studs upside down, which also gave me a better mounting angle for the front brush guard. And it also allowed me to use these orange 1x2 bow tiles to fix the blockiness of the lower valance that I mentioned earlier. Up on the hood, I built the original MOC with a flat front edge, which was kind of blocky looking. So in the rebuild, I used some 1x2x2/3 and 2x2x2/3 bow tiles to give the leading edge a slight curve. On the side, I made a few changes, starting with swapping out the City Half Mud Guards for some Speed Champions Mud Guards, which gives the MOC a smoother, cleaner look. I also added some transparent orange side markers up front and some transparent red side markers in the rear. Next, I rebuilt the lower rocker panel, which on the original was squared off and again kind of blocky looking. But now you can see I've rebuilt it using these 1x2 cheese slopes, which add some contour. And the final change to the side is in the way I brick built the black 01 on the door. Now, at first glance, it might look the same as the original, but in fact, I replaced one of the studs on side brackets with a 1x1 by 1 2/3 brick with 2 studs on side, which is a part that didn't exist when I built the original. And this small change makes a big difference when it comes to the interior, which we'll see in a little bit. Around back, the main change here is that the rear end is now 1 stud longer than the original. And that's because for the lower valance, I replaced the 2x3x2 inverted roof bricks with these 1x4x1 bricks with the inverted bow, which I think makes it look a lot smoother and more like the real life General Lee than before. And while we're looking at the lower valance, you can see that I've added a dual exhaust, which was totally missing on the original build. And looking at the trunk, you can see that just like I did to the hood, I changed the flat squared off edge to a curved edge by using more of these 1 by 2 by 2/3 and 2 by 2 by 2/3 bow tiles. Now, since the rear end is 1 stud longer, I made the greenhouse 1 stud longer as well to keep the rear roof pillars in their proper position. And that also allowed me to add these 1 by 2 inverted roof bricks here in the middle to create the angled shape of the side windows. Alright, now let's take a look at the interior. And one of my biggest issues with the original build was that even though it's 8 studs wide, Bo and Luke couldn't sit side by side properly. And that's because I had to use these 2 by 2 studs on side brackets to brick build the black 01 on the doors, which cut down on interior space. But as I mentioned earlier, I replaced 2 of these bulky brackets, which opened up that lost interior space and now gives Bo and Luke plenty of room to sit the right way. And while we're on the subject of seating, I also improved the rear seats by making room for a minifig back there, as well as adding some rear seat headrests. And finally, I completely reworked the front dash by upgrading to a larger 2 by 2 steering wheel, and I also added a gear shifter down on the floor. Alright, there you have it, my new and improved LEGO MOC General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, you can let me know by giving me a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do. That is, of course, always greatly appreciated. And if you have a minute before you go, please leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. I'd also like to give a shout out to Enderbro, The Brick Boy, Super Builders, and Ghost Train 911. And if you'd like me to give you a shout out, let me know down in the comments and I'll be sure to do so in an upcoming video. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.